The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Chen Wei stepped forward, her worn diplomatic credentials gleaming under the artificial starlight. Around her, representatives from 47 species sat in their elaborate thrones, some hovering, others writhing in containment fields, all united in their barely concealed disdain. "The primitives from Sol 3 request audience," announced Zekthor, the hegemony's prime speaker, his chitinous mandibles clicking with amusement. How quaint! Chen had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times during the 3-year journey to Nexus Prime. Earth's first contact with galactic civilization had been a disaster. Humanity had been classified as a Class D primitive species and relegated to a small section of their own solar system. No trade rights, no territorial claims beyond Earth's orbit, no voice in galactic affairs. "Honorable Council," Chen began, her voice steady despite the weight of 47 alien gazes upon her. "Humanity formally requests recognition as a full member species of the Galactic Coalition." The chamber erupted in what could only be described as laughter, though it manifested in clicks, chirps, harmonics, and subsonic rumbles depending on the species. The Vectari delegation actually fell from their perches, their crystalline forms, chiming against the floor. "Full membership?" wheezed Councillor Morden, his gelatinous form rippling with mirth. "Your species hasn't even achieved basic matter manipulation. You still use chemical propulsion. Your military consists of kinetic weapons and primitive nuclear devices," added the Scorth representative, her scaled head shaking in disbelief. "We've seen your warships, museum pieces at best." Zekthor raised a clawed appendage for silence. "Human Chen Wei of Earth, your request is ambitious. But the requirements for membership are clear. You must demonstrate technological advancement, equivalent to our standards, contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization, and—" He paused for dramatic effect. "Prove your species' worth through strength." "We are prepared to do so," Chen replied calmly. This triggered another wave of alien amusement. Several counselors began placing what appeared to be bets using complex probability matrices that floated in the air between them. "Very well," Zekthor clicked, his tone dripping with condescension. "You have one standard galactic year to demonstrate your capabilities. Fail, and humanity will be relocated to the frontier worlds for your own protection. We cannot have primitives interfering with civilized space." Chen bowed formally. "We accept these terms." As she left the chamber, the last thing she heard was Councillor Feltheris commenting to his aide. "Poor creatures. They have no idea what they've just agreed to." 11 months later, the council emergency session was considerably less jovial. "Report!" demanded Zekthor, his mandibles twitching with barely controlled agitation. General Krixtall of the Hegemony Defense Force materialized. As a hologram, his usual composed demeanor notably absent. "The humans they've taken 17 border systems. Their fleet appeared simultaneously across multiple sectors using an unknown FTL method. Our response fleets were neutralized before they could engage." "Impossible," scoffed Mordun, though his gelatinous form had taken on a distinctly paler hue. "What ships? We scanned their entire system, a few dozen primitive vessels at most." "They weren't in the Sol system," Krixtall reported grimly. "Intelligence suggests they've been building in deep space, using asteroid mining operations as cover. Their vessels are unconventional." The holographic display activated, showing grainy footage of human warships. They looked like nothing the Council had ever seen. Angular, brutal things that seemed to ignore several fundamental principles of space combat design. Instead of elegant curves optimized for energy dissipation, they were all sharp edges and redundant systems. Their weapon systems are primitive but effective, Krikstal continued. Kinetic penetrators launched at significant fractions of light speed. They simply punch through our shields and armor as if they weren't there. And their ships continue fighting even after sustaining damage that should have disabled them completely. Surely our technological superiority, began the Scorth representative. They adapt, Krikstal interrupted. Every engagement they learn. Their tactics evolve. They've begun incorporating our technology into their own systems in ways our engineers call disturbingly innovative. Zekthor's compound eyes focused on the data streaming across his console. Where is their fleet now? The hologram flickered. Unknown. They've gone dark. Our deep space monitoring stations have been systematically eliminated over the past 48 hours. A junior aide burst into the chamber, his breathing apparatus whistling with panic. Counselor Zekthor, emergency transmission from Nexus Prime Defense Command. The massive view screen at the center of the chamber lit up, revealing the impossible sight of human warships in orbit around the Council's capital, world. They hung in space like dark monuments, their weapon systems trained on the planet's surface. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet, came a voice over the communication array. You wanted a demonstration of strength. Here it is. The council chamber descended into chaos. Species that had dominated space for millennia suddenly found themselves staring at the primitive upstarts they had dismissed, now holding their most important world hostage. Your orbital defense platforms have been disabled, Admiral Chen continued, her tone conversational. Your response fleets are currently dealing with gravity mines throughout the system. And before you ask, yes, we can crack your planetary shields. We'd prefer not to. Zekthor found his voice. What do you want? What we asked for 11 months ago. Full membership in the Galactic Coalition, equal representation, equal rights. This is terrorism, shrieked Morden. Piracy! This is politics, Chen replied coolly. The same politics you've used to subjugate and control smaller species for centuries. We simply chose to play by your rules. Strength determines worth. Ambassador Chen Wei stood from where she had been quietly observing the chaos. The terms remain the same as our original proposal. Full membership, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. In return, Earth withdraws its fleet and agrees to participate constructively in galactic civilization. And if we refuse? Zekthor asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Then we continue this conversation until you change your mind. Admiral Chen's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. We're very patient. We've also taken the liberty of blockading your primary trade routes. Nothing personal. The silence stretched for long moments before Zekthor spoke again. The Council will need time to deliberate. Of course, Ambassador Chen said graciously. Take all the time you need. We'll be right here. As the emergency session devolved into frantic negotiations, one thought echoed through the minds of every council member. They had called humans primitive, laughed at their crude technology, and simple weapons. None of them were laughing now. The vote for humanity's full membership passed unanimously 6 hours later.